The famous Roman amphitheater, the Colosseum, was built between AD 70 and 72 and was enjoyed by Roman citizens during the height of the Roman Empire. The Colosseum, also named the Flavian Amphitheater, is a large amphitheater in Rome. It was built during the reign of the Flavian emperors as a gift to the Roman people. Construction of the Colosseum began sometime between AD 70 and 72 under the Emperor Vespasian. It opened nearly a decade later and was modified several times in the following years. The massive structure measured approximately 189 by 156 meters, 620 by 513 feet, towered 4 stories high, and included 80 entrances to the amphitheater, 76 for the patrons, 2 for participants of events, and 2 exclusively for the emperor to use. The sheer number of entrances proved to be necessary. The Colosseum could hold more than 50,000 spectators at its maximum capacity. When the Colosseum first opened, the Emperor Titus celebrated with 100 days of gladiatorial games. Emperors traditionally attended the games. The Emperor Commodus is known to have performed in the arena on hundreds of occasions. Aside from the games, the Colosseum also hosted dramas, reenactments, and even public executions. Eventually, the Romans' interest in the games waned. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the Colosseum began to deteriorate. A series of earthquakes during the 5th century AD damaged the structure, and it also suffered from neglect. By the 20th century, nearly 2/3 of the original building had been destroyed. Nevertheless, a restoration project began in the 1990s to repair the Colosseum. Today it is one of modern-day Rome's most popular tourist attractions, hosting millions of visitors a year. Colosseum, also called Flavian Amphitheater, giant amphitheater built in Rome under the Flavian emperors. Construction of the Colosseum was begun sometime between 70 and 72 during the reign of Vespasian. It is located just east of the Palatine Hill, on the grounds of what was Nero's Golden House. The artificial lake that was the centerpiece of that palace complex was drained, and the Colosseum was sited there, a decision that was as much symbolic as it was practical. Vespasian, whose path to the throne had relatively humble beginnings, chose to replace the tyrannical emperor's private lake with a public amphitheater that could host tens of thousands of Romans. The structure was officially dedicated in 80s by Titus in a ceremony that included 100 days of games. Later, in 82, Domitian completed the work by adding the uppermost story. Unlike earlier amphitheaters, which were nearly all dug into convenient hillsides for extra support, the Colosseum is a freestanding structure of stone and concrete, using a complex system of barrel vaults and groin vaults and measuring 620 by 513 feet, 189 by 156 meters, overall. 3 of the arena's stories are encircled by arcades framed on the exterior by engaged columns in the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian orders. The structure's rising arrangement of columns became the basis of the Renaissance codification known as the assemblage of orders. The main structural framework and facade are travertine, the secondary walls are volcanic tufa, and the inner bowl and the arcade vaults are concrete. The amphitheater seated some 50,000 spectators, who were shielded from the sun by a massive retractable velarium awning. Supporting masts extended from corbels built into the Colosseum's top, or attic, story, and hundreds of Roman sailors were required to manipulate the rigging that extended and retracted the velarium. The Colosseum was the scene of thousands of hand-to-hand combats between gladiators, of contests between men and animals, and of many larger combats, including mock naval engagements. However, it is uncertain whether the arena was the site of the martyrdom of early Christians. In medieval times, the Colosseum was used as a church, then as a fortress by 2 prominent Roman families, the Franipae and the Anaboldi. The Colosseum was damaged by lightning and earthquakes and, even more severely, by vandalism and pollution. All the marble seats and decorative materials disappeared, as the site was treated as little more than a quarry for more than 1,000 years. Preservation of the Colosseum began in earnest in the 19th century, with notable efforts led by Pius VIII, and a restoration project was undertaken in the 1990s. It has long been one of Rome's major tourist attractions, receiving close to 7 million visitors annually. ever-changing exhibitions relating to the culture of ancient Rome are regularly mounted. Measuring some 620 by 513 feet, 190 by 155 meters, the Colosseum was the largest amphitheater in the Roman world. Unlike many earlier amphitheaters, which had been dug into hillsides to provide adequate support, the Colosseum was a freestanding structure made of stone and concrete. The distinctive exterior had 3 stories of arched entrances, a total of around 80, supported by semicircular columns. Each story contained columns of a different order or style. At the bottom were columns of the relatively simple Doric order, followed by Ionic and topped by the ornate Corinthian order. Located just near the main entrance to the Colosseum was the Arch of Constantine, built in AD 315 in honor of Constantine's victory over Maxentius at Pons Milvis. Inside, the Colosseum had seating for more than 50,000 spectators, who may have been arranged according to social ranking but were most likely packed into the space like sardines in a can, judging by evidence from the seating at other Roman amphitheaters. Awnings were unfurled from the top story in order to protect the audience from the hot Roman sun as they watched gladiatorial combats, hunts, wild animal fights and possibly even larger combats such as mock naval engagements, for which the arena was said to be flooded with water, put on at great expense. The vast majority of the combatants who fought in front of Colosseum audiences in ancient Rome were men, though there were some female gladiators. Gladiators were generally enslaved peoples, condemned criminals or prisoners of war. The Colosseum saw some 4 centuries of active use, until the struggles of the Western Roman Empire and the gradual change in public tastes put an end to gladiatorial combats and other large public entertainments by the 6th century AD. Even by that time, the arena had suffered damage due to natural phenomena such as lightning and earthquakes. In the centuries to come, the Colosseum was abandoned completely and used as a quarry for numerous building projects, including the cathedrals of St. Peter and St. John Lateran, the Palazzo Bonicio and defense fortifications along the Tiber River. Beginning in the 18th century, however, various popes sought to conserve the arena as a sacred Christian site, though it is in fact uncertain whether early Christian martyrs met their fate in the Colosseum, as has been speculated. By the 20th century, a combination of weather, natural disasters, neglect and vandalism had destroyed nearly 2/3 of the original Colosseum, including all of the arena's marble seats and its decorative elements. Restoration efforts began in the 1990s and have proceeded over the years, as the Colosseum continues to be a leading attraction for tourists from all over the